Hello and welcome to the spiritguides.co.uk network radio show with your host Mark Chatterton. We are always open to speaking to people with alternative views to the way most people run their lives. So tonight we are pleased to welcome on the show Roger Hayes of the Lawful Bank, who will be talking about a new way for people to look after their money outside of the present banking system. Roger is currently travelling around the country drumming up support for the Lawful Bank, and he has kindly fitted us into his busy schedule to talk about the Lawful Bank. So a warm welcome to you, Roger.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay, let's start off. Before we talk about the Lawful Bank, could you tell us a little bit about your background and why you decided to set up the Lawful Bank?
All right, my background, I'm a master mariner by profession. For people who don't understand what that is, it's ship's captain. When I was at sea as a young man, I read a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy, a book by Gary Allen. And that effectively outlined the blueprint for the one world government. And I watched this whole thing unfold over the last 40 years. And about 5 years ago, decided that because nobody was doing anything about it, that I would do something. So I set up the British Constitution Group, and a number of us came together and decided that one of the ways forward was to look at setting up an alternative system both of government, but more importantly, an alternative system of money. And that's where the Lawful Bank came from. What we're aware of, obviously, is that we're all controlled by money, and the banking cartels control everything, commodities around the world, governments, and so on and so forth. So the solution to the problem, to release the control, was to actually set up our own system, which we could control for our benefit, and counter the system that they control for their benefit. So that's the general background.
Okay, so could you explain what the Lawful Bank is and how it works then?
All right. At the hub of it is an alternative monetary system. So we literally create our own money. There is only one monetary system, and it's controlled by the international banking cartel. They create the liquidity that the world uses to trade with with each other, and it's through that mechanism that they control us. So if we're able to create an alternative monetary system and be able to trade using that as opposed to their system, we release ourselves from their control. There's lots of implications, and one of the implications, of course, is that we are all able to improve our lifestyles if we get access to money, not so much money, but ability to trade between ourselves, and money is the means of exchange. And I think that's where the confusion often arises. People think that money is wealth, but it's not. It's just the means of exchange. So we decided that if we were able to distribute money to all of us equally, then trade would flourish. We would all be able to house ourselves. We'd be able to sort of improve our lifestyles because we'd all be able to get access to the resources that we all need. So that's the general gist of it.
So how exactly does it work? People are presumably have got to put their money into it in large numbers for it to sort of get established, I presume.
No, because we're creating our own money. It's about the critical mass. It's about if we all agreed to use let's imagine next Monday morning we all agreed to start using this new banking system and new money, their money and their banking system would be useless. So that means the control would pass from them to us. So the object of the exercise is to start building a network of people, branches and users all around the country. And when we got the critical mass of users, we can actually start trading between ourselves. So let me give you an example. If I have a commodity and I'm prepared to sell that commodity for this new currency, then people can then buy from me because we distribute the Lawful Bank money to people in our community. They can buy from me. Now, with that money, I need to know that I can actually buy the resources that I need. And so I need a critical mass, which means I need to be able to access all the resources that I need to live my life normally. So it's a case that critical mass is being able to bring together enough people who have access to those resources that I'm going to need. So whether it's haircuts, whether it's mechanics, whether it's getting my lawn mowed, and so on and so forth. That's the critical mass that we're looking for. And of course, it does include gas, electricity, mortgages, and so on and so forth. So the Lawful Bank is the mechanism through which I can actually achieve all I need to achieve in my life by purchasing things that I'm going to require: food, gas, electricity, petrol, my lawn mowing, and my haircuts, etc.
So does it work with a completely different currency then?
Absolutely, yeah. It has its own currency. So what we would do is, for example, if I decided to buy something from you, and I used the Lawful Bank money, then you would need to be able to use that money to purchase goods yourself. So acceptance of my money is important. What we do initially is I take £20 sterling and I exchange it for £20 lawful pounds. You would then be prepared to accept that £20 from me on the basis that you knew it was supported by £20 sterling. So initially what we want people to do is to start using Lawful Bank pounds in place of pound sterling to build confidence. Now the real trick is when we're able to issue our own money without the backing of sterling, and that's a process that we're going through. The way I can do that is when somebody is prepared to accept Lawful Bank money on the understanding they can spend it, because they know that within our system we have all the resources that we need. So I'm going to be able to pay my mechanic, and my mechanic's going to be able to use Lawful Bank pounds to pay for the plumber. The plumber's going to be able to use Lawful Bank pounds to pay for the services that he requires, etc. And eventually somebody will come to me and say, will you accept Lawful Bank pounds? And I will say, yes, of course, because I know I'm already able to spend them. So you're creating a second economy using our own currency.
So do you need permission from the authorities to do this, or?
No, you don't. It's a private contract. Anybody can create their own money. I mean, I think people are probably aware of the likes of Bristol and Shroud pounds and Lewis, where they've actually created their own money. What they've done there is they worked on the system that they would retire £20 sterling and replace it with Shroud pounds or Lewis pounds. So that's the direct exchange. That's where they're using pound sterling to give their currency its credibility and its backing. But what the Lawful Bank is doing is moving to the next phase, which is to create its own money. So we're going to create money and we're going to distribute that money to all of our members. And as I say, the criteria for its success is that that money can be used in an economy, in our economy, to buy goods and services. One of the ways that we can do this is I'll give you an example, is we could go into a hairdresser's as an example of how we might use it on a daily basis. And if the haircutting fee was, say, £10, we could offer to pay them £9 in pounds sterling and £1 in Lawful Bank pounds. And many people think, well, that represents a 10% discount, but it doesn't, because this is what happens. The hairdresser receiving the one Lawful Bank pound can then spend that somewhere else. So she might be able to go down to a local vegetable shop who's a member of the Lawful Bank, and in paying for £20 worth of vegetables, she might pay £18 in sterling and £2 in Lawful Bank. So you're actually increasing the amount of money in liquidity in the economy. So the hairdresser might turn around and say, oh, I'd like to develop my business, I'd like to borrow some money. Lawful Bank could then turn around and say, okay, well, we can lend you £10,000 sterling, £10,000 Lawful Bank money, and the hairdresser would then use that to purchase goods around her community from people who are members of the Lawful Bank. So again, if she's doing renovations and the renovations were £20,000, she may spend £18,000 with pound sterling and £2,000 with the Lawful Bank money. And progressively, that ratio of 10 to 9 may become 2 to 8, 3 to 7, and so on and so forth, as more and more people started to use Lawful Bank money. And the benefit is essentially is that we can offer this money interest-free, so it's cheaper money. It means there's more money in circulation, which means that it creates employment, it creates jobs, and effectively it also exposes the reality that there is no shortage of money. That's the lie, because money is only a means of exchange. And as long as the resources are available, then the money can be made available. And I think that's a simple principle that people lose out on. It's the availability of the resource. We are the resource, not the money. And that's where the lie has been created to actually confuse us. We think there's a shortage of money. Of course there's no shortage of money.
So obviously you're going to need a sort of a large amount of money, people to invest in the first place.
That's exactly right. It's the whole point is about getting a critical mass of people. So we're signing up people around the country, and one of the questions that we're going to start asking people is, what resource do they bring to the Lawful Bank? And obvious ones are plumbers and electricians and builders and lawn mowing people and carpenters and hairdressers and so on and so forth. So anybody who drives a van actually has a resource that they can make available. And we would say to the van driver, okay, you're a member of the Lawful Bank. We can make money available to you now through the Lawful Bank loans. Obviously, because you're a member of the Lawful Bank, you're prepared to accept Lawful Bank money. We would ask people to accept 10% in Lawful Bank money and 90% in sovereignty pounds, in pounds sterling, and eventually build up a network of people using our money and then increase the percentages. So the critical mass of people is what we're looking for. So people to sign up to Lawful Bank, and progressively over a period of time, what time I don't know, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, the shorter the period of time, the better, obviously. But we will communicate to people in their communities what is being made available through Lawful Bank, and hopefully as we build the network, people will start using it as they see the opportunity to do so.
So presumably people will still have money in the present bank, and the idea is to start having money in the Lawful Bank, and gradually the Lawful Bank will become sort of bigger or more important in the lives than the present bank.
Yeah, I mean, one of the key policies that we would adopt is that we will issue 250,000 sovereignty pounds. We call Lawful Bank money sovereignty pounds, a reflection of the fact that we're claiming back our sovereignty. We would issue 250,000 sovereignty pounds to every single individual into their property account. Okay, very important point. It's a property account. It's deliberately designed to house people. So every single individual will get that money, regardless of whether they've got a house or what. The object of the exercise is to use that money to pay off existing mortgages or buy a new build home. There's a reason why we go for new build initially, and I'd explain that at some later time. But essentially, it's important to recognize that there is a major benefit that anybody and everybody who signs up to the Lawful Bank will actually receive a property account, and we will credit 250,000 sovereignty pounds into that account for their use to buy a property. If you can imagine the impact that will have, is that every single individual won't have to pay rent and won't have to pay a mortgage. And that will change people's lives overnight. And that requires just one decision to be made by the majority of people signed up to Lawful Bank. And
I understand that you're not going to have interest in the Lawful Bank. Is that correct?
No, definitely not. That's the core of all problem is interest. That interest that builds up over a period of time is why we're all in the mess we're in. So definitely no interest. There is a fee paid if we've got a banking network set up around the country. There is a fee paid for using the service, which is a small fee, but obviously the banking network itself has to be paid for. And signing up as a branch member, it's a business opportunity. If you want to become a branch, if you want to set up a branch, we need 6 people for each branch. And that's a business opportunity. Again, it's designed to encourage people to engage.
What about people from other countries? Is this just going to be in the UK, or can people from other countries join it and set up their branches abroad?